planning staff, Mr. Alex Dyer, Cherry Hallberg Dodds, and Kathy MacArthur. So this hearing is being held electronically using Zoom. It is being recorded and is live streaming on your website. Would staff please provide direction and instruction on how to participate in this hearing?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do that. So thank you everybody for joining in and participating in this electronic public hearing. We just want to highlight some of the features on Zoom and help you participate while talking about the process that we follow in keeping the hearing running smoothly. So if you're participating online, which many of you are, you have the option to turn on or off your video and mute or unmute your audio. And so other meeting participants can see you and hear you. These controls are at the bottom left of your screen, I believe, if you're on a laptop like I am. We just ask that you please keep your audio muted at all times, unless you're called to speak. This will just reduce the background noise, which can make it hard for everybody to hear the presentations. There will be an opportunity after staff introduce the application and the applicants provide initial comments on their proposal. There will be an opportunity for everybody to speak. If anyone's participating by phone, which I don't see of any, but if you're watching online and you like to participate by phone, you can do so, and you can mute and unmute your line at any time by using *6. So when staff calls upon any members of the public to comment on the bylaw, we ask that you either put your hand up or call out that you would like to speak. Once you've been recognized by staff, we ask that you state your name and address, followed by your questions or comments. I also want to highlight that there is a chat feature at the bottom that's accessed from the controls in the middle of the middle bottom of my screen anyways. All questions will be addressed by staff during the public hearing, so feel free to ask anything that pops in your mind as we move along. These questions will be brought forward when the chair asks for public comments. So there will also be a final opportunity prior to the end of the public hearing to ask any final questions or make any last comments on the rezoning bylaws. And then finally, I just want to reiterate again that the public hearing is being live streamed on the ACRD website, and that a recording of the meeting will be publicly available. And also highlight that on the ACRD website, under the calendar link for May 31st, we have a public hearing entry in there, I guess, and within that link you'll find all of the public correspondence received ahead of the meeting, the referral responses, and the background information. If you'd like to read it and follow along as we go through the public hearing, you're welcome to do so. And if you have any questions about that, please let us know. Other than that, thank you.
Thanks, Alex. The subject of this hearing is bylaw P1408 and P1409. These bylaws are applicable to 9001 Central Lake Road and is necessary to facilitate the development of a single-family dwelling and up to 4 cottages. If you have any questions or comments about any other unrelated topic, I ask that you contact the regional district staff after this hearing has been terminated. Would staff now please read out the notice of public hearing?
Okay, a public hearing for residents and property owners within electoral area D, Sproat Lake, will be held to consider bylaws P1408 and P1409. Bylaw P1408 is a zoning text amendment, and bylaw P1409 is a zoning atlas amendment to rezone Lot 3, District Lot 60, Alberni District, Plan EPP 84111, from rural A2 district to acreage cottage residential ARC district, to facilitate the development of a single-family dwelling and 4 2-bedroom low-impact cottages. Now, the public hearing will be held by the director for electoral area D, the alternate director, or the chairperson of the regional district. The board resolution making this delegation, along with bylaws P1408 and P1409 and relevant background documents, is available for review online. And the link for that is www.acrd.bc.ca/events/31-5-2021. Now, planning staff are available to answer questions through email and or by phone during normal office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, from May 19th, 2021 to May 31st, 2021, excluding statutory holidays. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, providing an opportunity for public input and safeguarding public health are top priorities of the ACRD. Consider written submissions as an effective means to provide your input. And anyone who feels their interest in property will be affected by the proposed bylaws will be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard. The options include participating in the public hearing by electronic means using Zoom video conferencing or teleconferencing, and or submitting correspondence to the ACRD. Now, if you wish to participate in the public hearing electronically or by phone, full instructions to do so are available on our website at www.acrd.bc.ca/events/31-5-2021, or it can be provided by contacting planning staff at planning@acrd.bc.ca or by phone at 250-720-2700. This public hearing will be recorded and live streamed on our website. Written correspondence can be submitted to the ACRD by one of the following methods: hard copy to the ACRD office drop slot or by mail to the planning department at the address below. An email sent to planning@acrd.bc.ca before 4 p.m. May 31st, 2021. Email correspondence will only be considered received if receipt confirmation is provided by ACRD staff, or a fax sent to 250-723-1327 before 4 p.m. May 31st, 2021. And again, fax correspondence will only be considered received if receipt confirmation is provided by ACRD staff. Now, all correspondence must be received by the ACRD no earlier than 8 a.m. on May 19th, 2021, and no later than 4 p.m. on May 31st, 2021. Correspondence submitted and or received outside of these parameters will not be included in the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. So the purpose of a public hearing is to receive input, written and verbal, from any person who believes that their interest in property is affected by the bylaws. The regional district will receive full minutes of this hearing before voting on the bylaws. Staff is taking minutes that summarize the issues raised, so please speak clearly to ensure accuracy. Would staff please introduce the proposal?
Yes, thank you. So I will start off by noting some of the correspondence we've received. So the agency referral responses received recommended either approval subject to conditions outlined in the attached letters, or noted their interests were unaffected. Copies of these referral responses are available for public review on the ACRD website at the link, the May 31st calendar link I noted before, and will be part of the public hearing report considered by the board. There were also 6 letters of correspondence received from the public ahead of the public hearing. 5 of those letters received were generally in opposition to the rezoning and expressed concerns about the impact on water supply in the area, water and sewer servicing, commercial uses, traffic, and nuisance concerns. A letter from the applicants was also provided addressing some of these concerns. And again, these letters are available online for public review on the ACRD website and will be part of the public hearing report considered by the board. If any member of the public joining in would like to read out their letter, there will be an opportunity to do that later on in the hearing. So the applicant's proposal, I'll just quickly introduce that. The applicant's intention at this point is to rezone their 14.3 acre property from rural A2 district to acreage cottage residential ARC district. And that would be to facilitate the development of a single family dwelling and up to 4 2-bedroom rental cottages. I note that the cottages would be limited to 750 square feet on the main floor area and 1.5 stories. The cottages are intended to be occupied on a short-term temporary basis and not as permanent residences. In reviewing this, staff's opinion that the proposal generally complies with the policies and objectives of the rural use designation in the Sproat Lake Official Community Plan. That designation supports a variety of compatible uses while maintaining a predominantly rural character of the area. The ARC zone is a residentially focused zone in that you need to have a single family dwelling in place before you can build any cottages or use any buildings for cottage rental. And then I just also note that the application includes a text amendment to the ARC district zoning to increase that minimum lot size to 5 acres, and that would be to maintain consistency with the minimum lot size supported in the OCP. So finally, I just want to highlight some of the conditions of rezoning. The ACRD board has established conditions of rezoning that are to be resolved prior to adoption of bylaws. The applicants have agreed to a covenant that would restrict any future subdivision of the property in order to provide a clear cap on the density permitted on this parcel. The covenant is to be registered prior to adoption. The other matters are the confirmation of adequate water supply and capability for on-site wastewater disposal for up to 4 cottages. That was also included as a condition of approval. The applicants drilled a new well in April 2021, just last month, that will serve the proposed cottages. The applicants have also engaged a registered on-site wastewater practitioner who has evaluated the site and has confirmed that the soil profiles that he evaluated on site can accommodate the proposed build out while meeting the provincial sewerage regulations. So both of these technical matters are not only a condition of rezoning, but also just note that that they will be considered a condition of building permit approval and occupancy for the proposed cottages as well if the rezoning proceeds. So I think I'll leave it at that and send it back to you, Chair Cote. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I have a question about the water at this point. So they're only checking for the water supply, that they have enough water to supply the house and 4 cottages, and that it wouldn't be contaminated by septic.
That's correct. Yeah. So the condition that the board had placed on the completion of the rezoning is that the applicants confirm they have adequate water for 4 cottages, and what they've done is they've drilled a new well that will actually service those new cottages, rather than the initial intent was to draw off the existing well on the property and develop a bit of a water system. But I think that they've satisfied that with the new well that they drilled.
Okay. Well. All right. So at this point, I'd like to ask, would the applicant like to add anything?
Hi there, guys. Anything that I want to put forth is in the letter that I sent today. So I'm just going to leave it at that and invite everybody to have a look at that if they so choose.
Hi.
Hi.
You
So Alex, everyone can see all of the letters, and the applicant's application is all online right now. So if anybody wanted to take a look before the end of the public hearing, that information is all there.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right, so now we will hear from members of the public. Please wait until you've been recognized by me and state your name, address before beginning. We'll hear from anyone wishing to speak for the first time before allowing second comments. So if you have, raise your hand or unmute yourself, I'll recognize you. Mike, you had your hand up? Sure.
I did. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. My letter that I've written
Oh,
is,
sorry, Mike, please state your full name and your address.
I'm sorry, my name is Mike Garrick. I live at 9251 Central Lake Road.
Thank you.
All right. My apologies. I'm just going to read the letter that I've written. I just want to read it out loud to make sure that it gets heard. Okay. All right. So to the planning department and the directors of the ACRD, I'm writing a response to the application for rezoning on lot 3 on Central Lake Road. I have 3 issues with this application. First of all, the proponent has applied to make their property a tourist destination, including trails with no plans for fences or barriers other than the noise barrier between their road and 8881 Central Lake Road. Tourists will not respect or recognize property markers and will trespass as they're not aware of where the property lines are or do not care. Our property directly to the west includes the highest point in the area as a viewpoint to see the panoramic vistas of the Beaufort mountain range. It will be a certain draw to tourists to climb to the top and see the beautiful view from there. This will put my family and myself at a great liability risk, as the terrain is uneven, very steep in spots, and can be quite hazardous. We've also set up an area along the property lines to target shoot with live ammunition. It would be unsafe for tourists to be invited to the neighboring property and be allowed to roam without barriers. The greatly increased liability risk is an unfair burden to expect us to shoulder. The OCP specifically addresses minimizing conflict between land uses, and this proposal is a prime example of how the proponent's profit-making business will cause financial risk to all the neighboring properties, not just ours. If and when a tourist is to injure themselves on a neighboring property, standard homeowners insurance may not cover all the costs of an injury lawsuit and will likely bankrupt us, and it'd be complete financial hardship. Asking the neighbors to incur increased insurance costs and or pay outwards for injuries to incur costs to fence the property lines when it is not running for profit, when it is not us running for a for-profit business and inviting the hazard is unreasonable. Zoning changes such as this must include protections for the neighboring properties when offering tourist trails. This application does not. 2. The posting on their property of the public notice is so small and so far up the driveway, nobody can read it without trespassing on the property. In addition, it's not in a location that is readily noticed driving by. You have to stop and look for it to notice it. As a notification required by law, I feel it does not serve its intended purpose. Number 3. The road the proponents have on their diagram submitted in their zoning application shows a road up the center of the property to their cabins. From what I can see from my own property, the road they've carved out runs up the side of the property, which can be clearly seen from my side of the property line. He mentioned that he had to drill a new well. It's fine. Inaccurate site maps don't meet the application requirements. And I have pictures included in my letter to the board. Given the safety and liability concerns, improper notification, as well as intended or unintended representation on their application, I feel this application should be denied. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for the first time? Zoran? I recognize you.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Uh,
Please state your name and your full name and address, please.
Zoran Knezovic. My home address 6135 Margot Road. However, I do own a property next door, Pinedale Ranch. And just for the record, I'm not necessarily opposed to the development or proposed development. However, I do have a couple of questions and comments for the ACRD. It appears to me that with current proposed development and past developments in the neighboring area or bordering my property, it seems like ACRD is changing the general character of the area, increasing the number of people using the properties in and around, like with RV pads and cabins. Is that's a question, is that the intention of the ACRD to change the general character of the area? And second, I just want to bring or raise the attention to the point that increasing the number of residents in and around the area is inadvertently restricting development of the large property like Pinedale Ranch, because any development or could be perceived as intrusion to the neighbors, as we have seen in the past. So I would like to if you can comment, please, on your end. Is that the intention of the ACRD develop the area as a high density residential tourist area as it appears right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoran. I'd be happy to address that, Penny, if you like. So the,
Yes, please.
the intent of the regional district isn't to, outright see the development or the change of a neighborhood. At the end of the day, we are responding to rezoning applications that we have received, and we have received a number of development applications in that area. At this point, we feel that the cottage residential development is a little bit different. We do have a lot of similar cottage residential zones, mostly in Banfield and Long Beach, but we do have some in the Alberni Valley as well, and then a number of properties that where temporary use permits have been issued that would allow for short-term vacation rental under set specific conditions. So at this point for this development application, we are simply just responding to the desires of the applicants, and we feel that as ACRD staff, we recommended that this application proceed to the public hearing stage, noting that it provides the applicants an opportunity to provide additional accommodation opportunities on their property while still striving to maintain that rural character of the area on a 14-acre property. The other benefit of the cottage residential zoning is that it provides the regional district with the ability to ensure that technical matters such as sewage disposal or water servicing or health and safety are actually regulated at the building permit stage, an opportunity which we do not have in a campground style commercial development, for example, right? So there are some benefits we feel to the cottage residential, where each one would require a building permit and each one would have an independent review by building inspector and planning staff as well. So hopefully that answers your question. It's these aren't initiatives that are led by the regional district. They are, we're seeing increased development pressure throughout the region, especially in the last year. And what we're doing with this rezoning application is we're responding to the desires of Ryan and his family. So, thank you.
Thank you. Was there anything further, Zoran?
No, I understand, Alex, your comment, and thank you for a detailed explanation. And I just wanted to raise and make sure that the board council is aware, and you're aware. In my opinion, the general character of the area is changing, no matter which way you cut it. Whether you're responding or not, Alex, to the application is we have instead of two neighbors I have right now, potentially with this development 5, and I believe the RV pads next to that Mike has. I mean, you're talking about another 9, 10. So you're talking about 15 new neighbors instead of 2. So it is changing general character for myself, and also a potential for people being affected by development that I may propose on the large property like that. So, as I said again, I'm not opposed. However, I just want ACRD to note that component in case we need to review that down the road.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Zara.
Thank you. We are right at this present time reviewing our zoning bylaws, and after that we'll be reviewing the official community plans. I'm not sure what the timeline is for that, but we're due. So these type of conversations can happen at that time if there's a will to change the character, as you're saying, of our community in different areas. But at present, it is what it is. So at this time, then, I would ask that, is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? I see a couple of other names, people watching, but, and I see that we have had what, 5 letters? So there is requests on them to be read out at the public hearing, but there's pages and pages here. So I see that Mike actually got on and spoke to his letter. There is others and they are on the website. So I would please ask that people refer to that. Alex, maybe you could respond to why we're not reading them out.
So the practice of the ACRD is not to read out individual letters. I just want to reiterate that the fact that they may not be verbally spoken in the meeting, they are received by the board. They're a part of the full minutes of the meeting, and they do inform the board's decision making. So that the fact that they might not be read out verbally at the meeting doesn't mean that the board doesn't see them or hear them or consider them. So we will make sure that we do that. Following this meeting, we'll compile the minutes of the discussion of the meeting, and then add on the referral agency comments that I referred to earlier, the public correspondence that I also referred to as well, and then we will submit that in a package as one public hearing report for the board to make a decision on second and third readings at the June 9th board meeting. So next, not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday would be when the board would next consider this application.
Thank you for that. So I won't go on anymore with that. So I'll ask again, is there anyone that would like to speak for a first time regarding this rezoning, this bylaw? Ask for a second time. Is there anybody that would like to speak to this?
And Director Cote, I just there's a few points I would like to make before we wrap up too. So if there's an opportunity now, and I'd like to do so.
Yes, please.
Okay. So some of the concerns raised in the letters, I want to go over 3 of them just to touch base on what the regional district's role is in this, and what our abilities are to help the community with it in essence. So a water supply was a common theme that was mentioned in the letters. Groundwater in the province is regulated by the Groundwater Protection Regulation under the BC Sustainability Act. The Ministry of Environment, as well as the Ministry of Forests and the Ministry of Health, work together on protecting and managing water in BC. I note that that groundwater regulation sets the standards for construction, maintenance of new wells, and also recognizes qualified people who are certified to drill wells in BC as well, and that groundwater wells for domestic purposes do not require a license from the province at this time. The overall impact on the water supply in this area, in my view, is unknown at this point, and outside of the scope of the applicants confirming their water servicing requirements for their proposed development. I think a larger groundwater assessment studying future development impacts in the area needs to be a community-driven project that is led by the province, and in conjunction with the regional district as well, but the province ultimately has regulatory control over groundwater protection. And just finally on that note, just to highlight that in the letter that Ryan has submitted previously, when the board first looked at it, they did note a number of landscaping and cottage development measures that they intend to take that intend to have a lower impact on the water supply. They've noted things like landscaping with native plant species, storm catchment systems, guests to bring their own drinking water, low flow devices, and all that. So, I mean, that's it, it's a concern for sure, and you know, it is being, you know, it'll be considered by the board, but at the end of the day, I just want to highlight that the province has the regulatory ability to deal with groundwater. Sewage disposal is much the same way. Sewage disposal on site is regulated by Island Health. A registered on-site wastewater practitioner has assessed the site, as I mentioned earlier, and has provided a letter of assurance that confirming that the soil that exists on site can accommodate the proposed build out. And then highlight that as part of the building permit process, Regional District will confirm that an Island Health septic filing has been registered prior to issuance of any building permit, and that a functioning system is in place prior to occupancy. That's an important tool that we have that you know, we deal with any building permit that has plumbing in it. That's what needs to happen, and that that gives us some additional control here. Then the last thing I wanted to highlight, because it was mentioned in a few of the letters, is traffic and road access. And you know, I recognize that is a busy road, and it's becoming busier with increased traffic out to Great Central Lake and the neighborhood that everyone lives in here. These, you know, road access and traffic concerns are again regulated by the province through the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure in the rural areas. If traffic is an issue, Regional District staff would be happy to work with area residents on ensuring that their concerns are heard by the appropriate staff at the ministry. We would be happy to you know, speak further about that if anybody's interested. I also note that the Ministry of Transportation did provide a referral response on this rezoning, and they recommended approval of the bylaws, while also noting that that any commercial activity on the site may require a commercial access permit. So staff will ensure that the applicant engages with Ministry of Transportation staff to determine whether any additional permitting may be required from them in terms of road access prior to that cottage residential use taking place. Yeah, so those are the three technical matters I just wanted to lay out there, and maybe this time I'll pass it back to you, Chair Cote. Thank you.
Hey, Alex and Penny. Sorry for interrupting. It's Chris McInnes. I'm a little bit late, and I was hoping I could still have an opportunity to say something.
Oh, you're muted, Penny.
Thing of the COVID, everybody slows the saying of the year. You're still muted.
Hey,
I
Penny,
see that
Penny, can you hear me?
I can, but Amy Mowat has her hand up. So
Oh,
I'll
okay.
take her,
Sorry about that.
first, and then I'll come to you, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, could you mute, please? Thank you. And Amy, are you there? I saw your hand up, and okay, maybe then we'll go to Chris at this time. So Chris, can you please state your name and address? And you have the floor.
Oh, he's muted. Can you hear us, Chris?
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, having some phone trouble. Yeah, so my name is Chris McInnes. Address is 8885 Central Lake Road. So I'm a direct neighbor of Ryan's. So Tara and I do have a couple concerns with the proposal. I guess what I'll start with is traffic. Not so much on Central Lake Road; it doesn't affect us. But the property that Ryan and his family are trying to rezone is essentially a panhandle with a 20-meter wide driveway. It's about 600 feet long, and it goes right in between two existing properties. So our concern is, you know, with the added density in the cabins. Each cabin, he stated, is going to be a 2-bedroom, so we can assume that If there's 4 cabins, you're going to have, up to 8 parties on the property at any given time, plus the family members that he has living there that will be, running the development. So that's a significant increase in vehicles and traffic. Our house is built basically 5 feet further than the minimum distance from the property line needed. So we're quite close to their road allowance. And we built here knowing that that lot was going to be developed with the potential of 2 homes. But, we didn't build our house in this location, knowing that there would be, an increase in zoning back there and an increase in traffic. So that's one of my concerns. The driveway. Water is a concern out here. I understand that they got a well drilled, and I'm happy for them. That's great that they got water, but water in this area can be an issue in certain times, and there's no guarantee that the well he drilled didn't tap into the same aquifer that we're all using. So regardless, the density increase would have an impact. And then just, I guess it seems hypocritical because, as most of you know, Tara and I have increased the zoning on our property and added RV sites. But in our opinion, so I full well realize that we are essentially potentially part of the overall problem that some people might have with the changes in the neighborhood. But we feel that just because we've increased our zoning, it doesn't mean that everybody should or should be able to around us. Currently, and this is not Ryan's fault, but it's the bigger picture for the neighborhood. Currently the first 4 lots that you come to on Central Lake Road, the current zoning allows those first 4 lots to have 5 houses, and we have the ability to put 10 RV sites in. There's a lot of applications in the regional district right now from a bunch of neighbors that are coming down the pipe, and our concern is just the overall long-term sort of feel of the neighborhood. It's going to go from basically 5 houses and 10 RV sites to, if all the applications that are in the regional district right now get approved, we could have 4 houses, 4 cabins, and up to 28 RV sites on the first 4 out of 5 lots on Central Lake Road. So it's a very significant. There's a lot of applications in for this particular area at the moment, and although this is not Ryan's problem, his development is a part of that. So that is a concern for us as well down the road. So. And then one other thing I wanted to point out, Ryan has done a very good report there on some of the mitigation that he plans to do with, the driveway and that type of stuff. One of the posts in there says that he plans to build a fence to mitigate the traffic going by our home. But I just want everyone to be clear, like Tara and I were the ones that built and paid for the fence that currently exists in that location that he's pointing out. So we did not build that fence to help his application get higher density back there. We built that fence to protect our kids and our dogs and everybody from the traffic going by currently. So I don't want, that to be used as a good enough reason to increase the zoning back there. In my opinion, if you're trying to run an operation like this, I don't believe that a 20-meter wide, 600 plus foot driveway in between 2 existing properties is the right spot for it. So anyways, that's basically all I got. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Chris. So I will go back to Amy Mowat. You did have your hand up, and I thought you were unmuted for a minute, but if you'd like to speak, now is the time. Okay, so at this time, I'll ask, is there anybody that's already spoken that would like to speak again? Okay, hearing none, then I will proceed. So for everyone, so please be advised that members of the Regional District Board of Directors cannot receive any new information related to these bylaws between the end of this hearing and making a decision on the bylaws at our next meeting in June 9th, on June 9th. If any board member does so, the hearing would be invalidated and would have to be held again. So for the first time, I'm calling, is there any further representations on this bylaw? Ms. Ryan, would you like to speak? Please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Good. I was unaware that I would be unable to address any of the concerns between now and the final meeting. So I better say my piece now, I guess, eh? I just want to address the first speaker, my direct neighbor there, Mike. I just wanted to make sure that I did say that, yes, the road plan did change since last August, and now a lot of things there's been changes in the plan along the way, as these things tend to go, right? New information is figured out. It's a very loose plan to begin with. So would I be able to submit a new map of where the current road is and what the new plan would be with slight modifications? Because mostly it's just the road location has changed. The cabin position on that original map, it's going to be very close to that. That's where we're at today with the plan. In the future,
you're welcome to submit that to me, Ryan. Sorry.
Yes.
You're welcome to submit that to me, Ryan. That's
okay.
Perfectly fine, and then we could determine if if that would be new information that
okay.
we need to consider bringing to the board, or whether that's just an update to your conceptual plan. So I'm happy to receive that, any of that stuff personally.
Okay, good. And one of the other concerns he had was for trails to be clearly marked and a definite property line to be visual and understood where the property boundaries would be. I was unaware that there was potentially a gun range next door, which is concerning for my family for sure. So that's good to know. So definitely fences can be made and boundaries can be, established. And I have no problem with addressing some of those concerns. Seems very valid for sure. And the rezoning sign that's been posted, that's too far from the road. Would I be able to fix that? I'll have to build something to fasten it to. It was just a convenient spot where it's currently at fixed to. It's right on the first hydro pole, but I could build something to affix that to ASAP.
I mean, it's a sign that advertises this meeting, so there's no purpose to do that. I would note, actually, just on the public notification requirements, that not only do we require a sign to be erected and to be visible from the public roadway, but we also, just to highlight that the public hearing was advertised in 2 editions of the Alberni Valley News, and notices were sent out to neighboring property owners within 100 meters of this property, and to residents within 100 meters as well. So just wanted to note that if anybody was curious about what the public notification requirements are, and that's set by provincial legislation.
Okay. Lastly, I'll just address the risk or concern of there being parties in this establishment that I'm proposing. That's definitely exact opposite of the vision that we have. Is we want to provide areas, rentals to escape and seek solitude, not to party. So there are ways to mitigate those risks, I think. Yeah. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So one question, Ryan. These 4 cabins, are they seasonal, or are they year-round, or?
Well, I thought that was undefined in the language of the bylaw for that zoning. Like that it could be however I would choose to rent them or to occupy them. But if there are limitations to that, then I'm very flexible at this point. So I would be willing to remain flexible and adapt to whatever limitations need be to make this happen. Yeah.
Alex, can you remark on that, please?
Sure, thank you. So the the zoning allows the short-term temporary accommodation rental of cottages. It doesn't restrict, the time of year or what season that would be in. The only thing that it restricts is that it can't be used as a permanent residence for people residing in the cottage. That it has to be for, intermittent, short-term, temporary basis. And at this point, based on how we define that in our zoning bylaw, that's less than a month. So if it's a monthly rental or a month-to-month rental or an annual rental or something like that, then that's a permanent residence. If it is less than that, then it is transitory and it's intended for vacationers or for seasonal workers, for example. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Would that restrict myself from living in one of the units? It
It would, yes. Yeah. So that, it can't be used as a permanent residence by anybody. It could act as a single family dwelling on the property as well, because you do need one single family dwelling and then up to 4 cottages. So, there is some flexibility there, and we're happy to work on that with you as you develop your development plans.
Okay.
Thank you.
So clarification then, the house that's being described in this development would be then considered a cottage?
No, I just noted that that while the zone restricts or it limits cottages to up to 750 square feet, if you were to build a 750 square foot cottage and then have 2 additional 750 square foot cottages as rental, one of them could be the single family dwelling and the other 2 could be the rental cottages. I explained that poorly, but what I'm trying to say is that at minimum you need to have a single family dwelling, and there's no restrictions on the size of that single family dwelling. So it could be smaller and designed to be a cottage rental in the future while you build a larger home. At the end of the day, the maximum density is the one single family dwelling, up to 4 rental cottages, and then the zoning also allows for properties over 2 acres in size to have a mobile home as a secondary dwelling. So hopefully that makes sense.
Okay. So this development could have 4 cabins and end at that, or does there need to be a house built?
There needs to be a single family dwelling on the property, yes.
Okay. But you could build cabins before you have the single family dwelling?
No, you have to have a single family dwelling in place with somebody permanently residing in that, whether that's the property owners or family. I know this is a family property as well. The restriction there being that the cottages are limited to 750 square feet on the main floor. The single family dwellings don't have a limit on the maximum size. So as long as you meet the overall lot coverage on the property, which is a 10% maximum lot coverage for all the buildings on the property, as long as you fit within that and you meet the setbacks, that is and somebody resides there permanently, that's your single family dwelling, and then you could add your cottage rentals after that.
Okay, so I just want to be clear that these are short-term rentals only, and that I see that it's a family property owned by multiples. So family, whichever dwelling that is chosen to be the home, the residence, other family members can't move into the cabins and consider those to be residents also, full-time. Just a clarification.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, Mike, you have your hand up. Recognize you.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just to question the point, not that he would, I'm assuming he would do so, but how if somebody were to live in one of these cabins or live in two of these cabins, how would the ACRD police that? Like
That's good. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what's stopping anybody? I'm not like Ryan, I'm not saying that you would do this, but what is the ACRD's plans to prevent that from happening?
Yeah, so we do have a enforcement process that that is complaint based. So you know, if we were to receive a complaint that this was occurring and it was contrary to zoning, then we would begin that enforcement process by reaching out to the owner and asking them to give their side of the story, I guess. The other side of that, so I mean that is a process that can be time consuming if the owners aren't willing to cooperate. The other side of that is that we are working on bringing in a bylaw notice. I can't remember the exact name, but it's essentially a ticketing process, right? So we're bringing in a process that will allow us to issue fines for contraventions to the ACRD zoning bylaw, and that would be a tool that would allow us to respond to this if it can't be resolved through cooperation with the property owner, then we'll have the ability to issue a fine for that.
All right. Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Chris mentioned that there's multiple applications down the pipeline. Because I live in the neighborhood, am I allowed to ask what's coming? What do you have on the ticket for applications?
So the applications received are public information. It's not something that I want to go into in detail here. I mean, this is a public hearing that relates to the application we're looking at.
I understand, and I can respect that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we do have a rezoning application for we have 2 rezoning applications in that area for commercial campgrounds, and that's we're working through that. There will be a separate development application process that will deal with those, and I mean there will be an opportunity for the public to review all the background documents relating to that and have an opportunity to comment on it. It's just we kind of tackle these one at a time, and those are applications that will be reviewed at future public hearings. And like I am more than happy to discuss that offline with anybody that is interested in the applications that we
Please.
Details of it.
Please
give me a call, Mike. I'm happy to do that.
All right, I will phone you tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Sherry, sorry.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Sherry
Name and
Garrett, 9251 Central Lake Road.
thank you.
Okay, so the plan is for low impact housing, and once the zoning is changed and it's approved, I'm not saying that the applicant would do this, but it's more of an ACRD question. What is to keep the plan in route? Like, how do you keep people from veering off from the plan and creating, like, not putting in the low flow toilets and not putting in washing machines and not putting in, or you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely. And we as a local government, as a regional district, we don't have the ability to enforce that or regulate that through zoning. So the zoning deals with land uses and it deals with density. So this this zoning would allow for up to 4 cottages with a maximum cottage size, and then the building permit process would allow us to ensure that the technical matters are considered, like they've got the proper sewage disposal that they're required to have, they have water connections, and that the the health and safety of the building have been met. At the end of the day, we don't have the ability to enforce a requirement for low flow toilets to be put in, or for, you know, on demand hot water tanks, for example. So that is a challenge for us. And, you know, that's only noted there because the applicant had proposed that in their application.
Yeah, so the application looks good, but there's absolutely no making it happen. But the thing is that it's being voted upon, like the plan is presented like, ooh, look at it, it's all pretty. But then when it comes down to it, there's absolutely no way to make sure it happens.
I hear your concern for sure. I mean, that's, you know, there are limitations in what we can do through zoning, and that is that the different land uses that the board will allow on different properties, and then what that maximum density looks like, and where it's located on a property. You know, there are things that we can't regulate through zoning. If it were, you know, if it were like a temporary use permit or something like that, we might have some additional powers, but zoning is limited.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Alex, can I make a comment? It's Chris McInnes.
Okay, Chris, I'll recognize you again.
Okay, I just wanted to add to Sherry's, I believe it was Sherry's last comment. So as most of you guys know, we rezoned a few years ago. One of the things when we came into rezone was that we asked for more than we received. And part of the reason for that was because although we didn't intend to have more campsites than we have now, having the property have the ability to do so in the future, like if we were to sell, you know, it'd be a permanent change. And I think it kind of ties into this application as well. As much as I do believe Ryan, and there's no hard feelings between neighbors. I believe him to be truthful and that he wants a quiet rental situation back there. You know, people's lives do change and priorities change and finances change. And so if this property is rezoned by Ryan, and in 5 years Ryan decides to sell, you know, who knows what the new owners might want or do with the property. And you know, our concern is it turns into some sort of a weekend summer wedding facility. You know, like if you've got accommodations for 8 couples, it allows a lot more down the road than just a secluded rental place. You know, you could have large members of the same group over there carrying on. And like I said, I believe what Ryan's saying, and I believe that he'll do what he can to mitigate that. But, you know, it's a concern down the road if things change and all of a sudden a new ownership takes over and they have a different vision for that property. You know, we have no recourse at that point. So just wanted to, I guess, let that be known.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Okay. Ryan, do you have any more comments to add or give you a last word? Okay. All right. So is there any further comments, new comments, second comments? Okay, hearing none at this point, I would advise that members of the board cannot receive any new information related to these bylaws between the end of this hearing and making a decision on the bylaws next board meeting on June 9th. If any board member does so, the hearing would be invalidated and would have to be held again. So at this time, I would call for the first time, are there any further representations on the bylaw? Hearing none. For a second time, are there any further representations on the bylaw? Hearing none. For a third time, are there any further representations on the bylaw? And I would remind everyone that there is letters that are on our website that are included in this. Hearing none. No further comments. I declare this meeting terminated, and that is the end of discussion. I thank you all for coming and participating. It's our way of, the regional district's way of having a public process, and I appreciate all of your input. Thank you all. Thanks, staff.